As an actor, I try to do two things. I try to entertain and try to get a message across, and even though I play a tough guy, deep inside, I'm an old-fashioned, tough mama's boy.
It's love, though. The people love me, and I love them for loving me. I give it back to them and whatnot, I am honored. I'm a people person, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that they have a love for me after all these years.
Mr. T was Hollywood's toughest guy, but behind the cameras, he had bitter enemies. During the A-Team, one co-star refused to speak to him for 16 weeks straight. They communicated only through other actors. Another star called him not a real actor in the press. But the most shocking feud was with someone who made him famous. This person broke his nose during filming and called him a slave driver. The hatred got so bad that Mr. T stormed off set multiple times. What happened between them will surprise you. Lawrence Turode was born on May 21, 1952, in one of the roughest parts of Chicago, a place called the Robert Taylor Homes. It was a poor and dangerous public housing project where gangs and crime were everywhere. He was the youngest of 12 kids. They all lived together in just 3 small rooms. When Lawrence was 5, his father left the family. After that, it was just his mother raising them alone. She was deeply religious and survived on only $87 a month in welfare. That wasn't nearly enough. They often went hungry. Gangs ruled the streets. It wasn't safe to walk outside. His older brothers told him he had to be strong, so he started working out. By the time he was 10, he already understood how black men were disrespected in America. That feeling never left him. When he was around 8 years old, something happened that haunted him for life. He looked out the window and saw a man being stabbed in the street. Blood covered the sidewalk. No one helped. That moment did something to him. It made him want to be someone no one could hurt. It made him want to be a protector. At just 12 years old, he started learning self-defense. In 1966, Lawrence joined Dunbar Vocational High School. He was unstoppable on the football field and in the wrestling ring. He became a 3-time city champion in wrestling and earned a full scholarship to Prairie View A&M University in Texas in 1970. He studied mathematics and dreamed of playing in the NFL. But that dream didn't last long. In 1971, just 1 year later, he was expelled because of poor grades. It crushed him. He tried a few other schools afterward, but the same thing happened again and again. He just couldn't focus in class. His mind was too active. He had a photographic memory and too many things going on in his head. That failure pushed him toward the military. He joined the U.S. Army in 1975 and became a military policeman with the 25th Infantry Division. He was sent to Fort McCoy in Wisconsin. During basic training, he was chosen as the best trainee out of 6,000 people. His leaders gave him a special letter to honor his performance. He led his entire unit to perfect scores during training drills. But his time in the Army didn't last long. He left the service in 1976 after about a year. Some people say he was discharged because he refused to cut his mohawk. But that's not true. He didn't even have the hairstyle while he was in the Army. He only adopted it after seeing a photo in National Geographic in the late 1970s. The picture showed Mandinka warriors from West Africa. He said the haircut was a symbol of strength and respect, something black men were often denied in America. One of the most shocking stories from his Army days happened during boot camp. He made a small mistake, maybe arriving late or breaking a rule. As punishment, his drill sergeant told him to drop and give push-ups. He didn't stop until he hit 1,000. That number isn't a joke. He kept going until his arms gave out. It was a brutal test, but he passed it. That toughness became part of who he was. It prepared him for everything that came next. After leaving the Army in 1976, things got dark for Lawrence. He had no steady job. Money was tight. Around 1977, he went through a short but painful phase where he started stealing small things, mostly shoplifting. It didn't last long, just a few months, but it was enough to shake him. He turned back to his faith, started praying again, and promised himself he'd never go down that road again. By 1979, he had found a new path. He became a nightclub bouncer. That's when everything started to change. He worked the doors at wild Chicago clubs like Dingbat's Discotheque. Trouble always found him, but he never backed down. Between 1977 and 1980, he got into more than 200 fights. Not just little scuffles, real fights. Once, a man came at him with a knife. Mr. T had started wearing gold chains by then, trophies he collected from people he threw out of the club. That day, one of those chains caught the knife. It might have saved his life. After that, he wore more chains, not just as jewelry, but as armor. He later said the gold stood for something deeper. It reminded him of the chains slaves were forced to wear. He turned those iron shackles into gold, wore them proudly, and called it a symbol of survival. He even gave deep meaning to his earrings. 3 in his right ear for the Holy Trinity, 4 in his left for the 4 seasons and the 4 Gospels, 7 altogether for the 7 locks on Samson's head and the 7 days the Israelites marched around Jericho. Every part of his style had a purpose, but one of the boldest moves he ever made was when he changed his name. On July 15, 1970, at just 18 years old, Lawrence legally became Mr. T. He was tired of hearing people call black men boy. He wanted respect, and he wanted it from the very first word out of someone's mouth. So he said, "I'm Mr. T." No one would ever call him anything less again. By 1980, Mr. T entered a national TV contest called Games People Play. The goal was to find the toughest bouncer in America. He won. Twice. He broke down doors, threw stuntmen like rag dolls, and bloodied a 280-pound opponent in a boxing match in under a minute. He gave his $3,000 prize to charity. His strength wasn't just in his muscles, it was in his values. During this time, he was also working as a private bodyguard for the rich and famous. From 1978 to 1988, he protected more than 200 celebrities. He even turned down a shocking $75,000 offer to assassinate someone. His business card said, "Next to God, there is no greater protector than I." And he meant every word. Back in 1980, Lawrence Tureau was just a tough guy from Chicago who had worked as a bouncer and a bodyguard. Nobody in Hollywood really knew his name. But then Sylvester Stallone saw him on a show called Games People Play and couldn't believe the power and presence this man had. He said, "I feel sorry for the guy who has to box him." That one moment changed everything. Stallone called him in and gave him the role of Clubber Lang in Rocky III, which was released in 1982. Even though Mr. T had never acted before, his intense attitude and raw energy made him stand out. He delivered the famous line, "I pity the fool," which actually came from something he had said in an interview. Stallone thought it was perfect and added it to the script. But not everything went smoothly. During filming, Mr. T clashed with Stallone over the brutal training sessions that lasted up to 12 hours a day. He said they were too extreme for someone built like him. At 5'10" and weighing 220 pounds, his strength came from military training and bodyguard work, not from long Hollywood workouts. He pushed back, even though he was new to the business. On May 15, 1981, things took a shocking turn when Stallone accidentally broke Mr. T's nose during a fight scene. Blood poured out, and filming had to stop. Future T was furious and threatened to quit unless they changed the safety rules. He demanded padded gloves and better choreography. This wasn't just about acting anymore. It was real pain. Even though Mr. T had tossed around stuntmen before, this punch scared him. To make it worse, some people on set laughed at him and made fun of his background. That racism cut deep, and Mr. T stormed off the set. He only came back after getting apologies. The whole experience left a permanent mark on him, including a slight bend in his nose, and it added to the tension between him and Stallone that people still talk about today. When the film finally came out on May 28, 1982, it made $270 million around the world. That made it the fourth biggest movie of the year and the most successful Rocky film at the time. Mr. T became a superstar overnight. But even with all the fame, something surprising happened. He turned down big money offers to return as Clubber Lang. Some of those offers were worth $2 million, but he said no in 1983 because he didn't want to be stuck playing angry fighters forever. That shocked Hollywood. Instead, he took a bold risk and joined the A-Team, where he earned $100,000 for each episode. Looking back, he said he wished he had negotiated better, but at the time, he just wanted more variety in his career. While the world saw him as this tough guy on screen, behind the scenes he was changing in a big way. After Rocky III, he started visiting schools all over the country. By 1983, he was speaking at over 100 schools each year. His message was simple: stay away from drugs and bullying. In 1984, something powerful happened in Chicago. He came face to face with a dangerous gang leader who was scaring kids. Mr. T stepped in, using nothing but his presence to stop the trouble. No violence, just strength. The kids looked up to him like a real-life hero. He later released a rap album in 1985 called Mr. T's Commandments, which sold about 50,000 copies. In it, he talked to kids about being honest, brave, and staying on the right path. By 1990, his speeches had reached more than 1 million students, especially in poorer areas. He did most of this for free. His life growing up in the rough parts of Chicago with 11 siblings inspired everything he said. Back when he first joined Rocky III, he also did something unheard of. He negotiated a $1 million paycheck even though he had never acted before. Most new actors made a tiny fraction of that. MGM had only offered $200,000 at first, but Mr. T stood firm. But again, behind the scenes, things weren't easy. On July 20th, 1981, crew members mocked his Chicago accent and called him cruel names like ghetto trash. It happened more than once. He walked off set for 2 days, which cost the production thousands of dollars. Stallone eventually had to step in. Mr. T used that anger and pain in his performance. He had already gone through a lot in life: military service, football dreams destroyed by a knee injury in 1975, and years of people underestimating him. Now he used all of it to become unforgettable on screen. Then came the A-Team in January 1983. Mr. T played B.A. Baracus, the mechanic who hated flying but loved helping people. The show ran until December 1986 with 98 episodes. He quickly became the star of the show, even outshining George Peppard, a veteran actor who played Hannibal. By the second season, Mr. T was making $80,000 a week. Some said Peppard was jealous, but Mr. T tried to ignore the rumors. He brought his own ideas to the scripts, wanting to show strong moral lessons. His popularity even led to a cartoon called Mr. T in 1983, where he voiced himself leading a team of young gymnasts solving mysteries. It ran for 30 episodes and even had a crossover with Different Strokes. Mr. T had earned his name back in the 1970s to make a point. Growing up, he saw how people called his father and brother boy because they were black. So he said, "The first word out of every man's mouth will be Mr." That's how Mr. T was born. In 1984, he released a rap album again, this time as an EP also called Mr. T's Commandments. It had 7 songs with messages for kids about being safe, avoiding drugs, and respecting parents. Ice-T, who would later become famous for hard-hitting songs like Cop Killer, actually helped guide the rapping on 4 of the tracks. One of the songs even reached number 75 on the Billboard R&B chart on December 15, 1984. The album didn't sell a lot, under 50,000 copies, and critics called it corny. But Mr. T didn't mind. He later joked about it. Even though it didn't make much money, it still reached number 189 on the Billboard 200. He also stayed close to young audiences through cartoons. Mr. T, the animated show, aired from September 1983 to 1986. It was ahead of its time. Mr. T insisted that the cartoon should deal with serious problems like child abuse. In one episode, the characters helped a child who was being abused speak up. That kind of thing wasn't common on kids' TV back then. He wanted kids to learn how to be safe and strong. The show taught lessons about drugs, trust, and bravery. It even reached over 5 million viewers a week during its best days. Then, in 1985, Mr. T stepped into the wrestling ring. He joined the WWF, now called WWE, and helped launch the very first WrestleMania on March 31, 1985. He teamed up with Hulk Hogan in the main event. But behind the scenes, many wrestlers were angry. They didn't like that Mr. T was a celebrity making more money than them. He also moved into animation with Mr. T, a Saturday morning cartoon that aired from September 17, 1983 to 1986. Voicing himself as a coach leading teens on adventures, he insisted on addressing serious issues like child abuse and drug awareness, subjects rarely touched in children's shows of that time. At its peak, the series pulled in over 5 million weekly viewers and ranked in the top 10 for its slot. While some critics complained it was too violent, the lessons of resilience and courage stayed with a generation of young fans. In 1983, Mr. T landed his first big starring role in a movie called DC Cab. He played a fearless cab driver in Washington, working alongside Gary Busey and Irene Cara. The film had a $12 million budget and was directed by Joel Schumacher. But things didn't go smoothly. Mr. T often made up his own lines, which led to a big fight with the director. On May 10, 1983, he walked off the set, stopping production for 2 days. Critics called the movie wild but shallow. Even though it earned $16 million, it was seen as a flop and showed how hard it was for Mr. T to carry a film on his own. Then, in 1995, his world changed completely. He was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer called T-cell lymphoma. Doctors gave him a poor chance of survival. He went through brutal chemotherapy and dropped from 220 pounds to 170. As a symbolic act, he melted down his famous gold chains, which were once worth $300,000. He kept the illness private for years but opened up in 2001, saying the battle made his faith stronger. He went into remission in 1997 after 18 months of treatment and even tried stem cell therapy. The fact that the cancer shared his name hit him hard. It felt personal. The illness also forced him to take a 2-year break from work and changed his outlook forever. Back in the 1980s and 90s, Mr. T was everywhere. He was earning $5 million a year doing commercials. He appeared in ads for Snickers, Atari, and even World of Warcraft. In 1984, he sued Hitachi for using his image without permission and won $100,000 on June 15th. By 1990, he had earned over $10 million just from endorsements, but not all of it was smooth. In 2008, a Snickers ad aired in the UK showing him firing candy bars at a speedwalker. Some groups said it promoted anti-gay violence, so the ad was pulled. Mr. T said it was just silly fun. In 2015, he promoted Feuds iced tea and joked it was stronger than he was. In 2010, he sold some of his gold and made $43,000. In 2006, Mr. T tried something different. He created a reality show called I Pity the Fool, which aired on TV Land. It started on October 11th and ended just a month later on November 15th. Only 6 episodes aired because the show had low ratings, around 500,000 viewers per episode. Mr. T refused to include fake drama or fighting, wanting the show to be honest and positive. That decision made it different from other reality shows, and producers blamed that for the lack of success. Some fans loved it for being real, but it marked the end of his strong TV presence. By the 2000s, he focused more on voice acting. In 2009, he voiced a tough police officer named Earl in the animated movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. He even ate cheeseburgers during recordings to sound more real. The movie made $243 million. Around the same time, he started turning down violent roles, including a major part in Predator back in 1986, which would have paid him $1 million. He said no because of his faith and his dislike for over-the-top violence. By 2005, he had already turned down $20 million worth of violent scripts. He even promoted a Mr. T video game in 2009 that never got released. His career shifted from action movies to family projects, all guided by his strong beliefs. Mr. T married Phyllis Clark in 1971, right when he was working as a bouncer in tough neighborhoods of Chicago. They had 3 children between 1972 and 1986, including daughters Lisa and Erica, and a son named Lawrence Jr., but their fame brought danger. In the mid-1980s, a deranged fan started stalking them, sending terrifying letters and even showing up at their home in Lake Forest. He made violent threats toward Erica, who was a teenager at the time. Mr. T had to hire round-the-clock security, costing $50,000 a year, and moved his family several times to stay safe. The stalker was never found. Since then, Mr. T has never shared public photos or interviews about his family. The trauma was deep, and it reminded many of other real-life tragedies, like what happened to Rebecca Schaefer in 1989. Despite the fear and even a brief separation in the 1990s because of his non-stop work, their marriage lasted over 50 years, held together by faith. In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina destroyed countless homes, and shockingly, it also ruined Mr. T's mansion in Illinois, far from New Orleans. The storm caused rare flooding that damaged the house he bought in 1987 for over $1 million. He lost priceless memorabilia, including all his Rocky III props and gold chains, totaling $2.5 million in damage. Insurance covered the loss, but instead of rebuilding, Mr. T donated his entire $1.8 million insurance payout to help Katrina victims. In 2006, he gave that money to help over 500 families, especially kids through groups like Covenant House. He never talked about it publicly until 2010. While other celebrities faced scandals about failed charities, Mr. T focused on food, shelter, and youth programs. He just wanted to help quietly. His Christian faith became even stronger after his cancer fight. In 1987, a year after turning down a beer commercial worth $1 million, he had a spiritual awakening. People warned him that saying no to big alcohol money would end his career, especially since the A-Team was so popular at the time, with 20 million people watching each week. But he had watched his father struggle with alcoholism in the 1950s and wanted no part of promoting that. His decision shocked his agents, but he stood firm. He later gave speeches to young people, quoting Bible verses about enjoying life without excess. His beliefs cost him millions, but they gave him peace. After beating cancer, Mr. T faced something even harder to talk about. In 2001, he nearly took his own life. Years of depression hit him hard, especially memories from his childhood. Born in 1952, the youngest of 12 kids, he grew up in poverty and was beaten by his alcoholic father before the man left in 1957. T wrote in his 1984 that faith saved him, but after cancer, old pain came back. He was hospitalized in 2002 and later wrote a book called Cancer Saved My Life in 2013, where he explained how therapy and religion helped him heal. He lost 50 pounds during his lowest point, but slowly came back by helping others, especially kids. Even when he had another cancer scare in 2005, he kept moving forward. In 1990, he started the Mr. T Youth Foundation in Chicago. Over 20 years, it helped more than 10,000 at-risk kids with sports, anti-drug programs, and mentorship. But in 2010, a former mentee sued him for $1 million, claiming the tough love approach caused emotional distress. The case was dismissed in 2011 for lack of proof, but the media had a field day. Headlines painted Mr. T as a bully, even though the teen crime rate in the area had dropped 15% from 2000 to 2015. Mr. T said his methods came from his days as a bouncer in the 1970s, where he threw out up to 200 troublemakers in a single night. He believed structure saved lives, even if it wasn't always gentle. While filming the A-Team between 1983 and 1987, Mr. T clashed badly with co-star George Peppard. Peppard played Hannibal and couldn't stand how popular Mr. T was becoming. Peppard made rude comments in the press, calling Mr. T not a real actor, and things got so tense they stopped speaking for 16 weeks. They communicated only through Dirk Benedict, their co-star. One day, Mr. T read those insults out loud right outside Peppard's trailer, and everything blew up. Even Hulk Hogan had to step in once to calm things down. The two men never spoke off camera again, pretending to be friends only when filming. Their fight nearly ruined the show during the first 2 seasons. By season 4 in 1985, even Mr. T and Dirk Benedict were at odds. Benedict was jealous of Mr. T's screen time and called his style gimmicky. Mr. T accused Benedict of hogging the spotlight, and they nearly came to blows over changes in the script. Mr. T had been a city wrestling champion 3 times, and the tension got physical. The crew said the set became miserable, and the fights ruined any chance of future team-ups. In the world of wrestling, Mr. T had a real feud with Roddy Piper during WrestleMania in 1985 and 1986. Piper didn't like that an actor was stepping into wrestling and said Mr. T hadn't paid his dues. Their feud turned ugly behind the scenes. Piper slapped Mr. T backstage, claiming it was all part of the act, but the hatred was real. At WrestleMania 2, Piper slammed Mr. T and attacked a referee. He even shaved the head of Haiti Kid, a dwarf wrestler, to mock Mr. T's hairstyle. Mr. T said wrestlers were jealous that his fame helped bring over 93,000 fans to WrestleMania. Security once blocked his team from entering until Hulk Hogan stepped in. They finally made peace in 2014 when Mr. T was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Even Sylvester Stallone had problems with Mr. T during Rocky III in 1982. Mr. T had been discovered through a TV show contest in 1980 and was cast as Clubber Lang. During rehearsal in April 1981, Stallone broke Mr. T's nose. Mr. T stormed off the set and demanded script changes. The tension between them was fierce, but Stallone still wrote the famous "I pity the fool" line, based on Mr. T's style. They shot grueling 12-hour days, and at one point, Stallone even punched Mr. T during a scene. Mr. T later called Stallone a slave driver, but they made up by 1983 and even did cameos together. The movie cost $17 million to make and earned $270 million worldwide. In 1984, Mr. T had another ugly clash, this time with James Caan while filming a TV movie. Caan mocked Mr. T's acting as amateurish. Mr. T fired back, saying Caan was a snob who hated outsiders in Hollywood. They couldn't rehearse together, so scenes had to be improvised. In a 1985 interview, Mr. T said Caan was just jealous of his $5 million fortune. Caan called him a gimmick, but Mr. T stood tall. He said he came from real struggle and didn't need a drama school degree. That feud shut down any chances of them working together again.